The truth behind the stars. Captain Liam Vega stared out the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Horizon as it approached the massive Galactic Conclave station. The sprawling structure hung against the backdrop of stars like a gleaming jewel, its crystalline spires and artificial rings rotating in perfect harmony. Beautiful and deadly, just like the politics that festered within. Liam adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform, the silver pins of Earth's United Systems Alliance catching the light. 5 years ago, he'd been commanding Special Forces teams in the outer colonies. Now he was Earth's senior representative to the most powerful political entity in the known galaxy. The irony wasn't lost on him. A soldier sent to play politician. Docking sequence initiated, Captain, announced Lieutenant Maya Chen from the pilot's seat. We'll be connected to the main hub in approximately 7 minutes. Liam nodded. Is Dr. Elias ready with the data package? Yes, sir. He's waiting in the shuttle bay with the rest of the delegation. The Horizon shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Liam made his way to the shuttle bay, his mind racing through diplomatic protocols and security procedures. Something felt off about this emergency session of the conclave. The summons had been unexpected, the language unusually urgent. Dr. Nathan Elias was waiting with 2 security officers and a junior diplomat. The xenobiologist's dark eyes were focused on his data tablet, fingers swiping through information with practiced precision. Find anything concerning in the conclave's biological database? Liam asked. Nathan looked up, his expression grim. Too much. They've cataloged over 80,000 sentient species across the galaxy. Humans aren't special, Liam. We're barely a blip on their evolutionary scale. That's not what Emperor Zax tells us in the council meetings. Exactly why I don't trust them, Nathan replied, securing his tablet. They're hiding something. The biological samples they requested last month. I traced where they went. Not to the medical division, to military research. Before Liam could respond, the bay doors opened to reveal their escort, a tall, insectoid being with iridescent blue carapace and 4 articulated arms. Ambassador Kreltik, their assigned liaison to the conclave. Greetings, Earth representatives. Kreltik's mandibles clicked as the universal translator converted the sounds to standard English. Emperor Zax has requested your immediate presence in the Grand Chamber. The emergency session begins in 30 minutes. Liam and Nathan exchanged glances. No preparation time, no briefing documents. What's this about, Ambassador? Liam asked, keeping his voice neutral. The Emperor will explain everything, Kreltik replied, leading them through the gleaming corridors of the station. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Conclave was an architectural marvel, a vast, circular room with rising tiers of seats accommodating representatives from over 1,000 worlds. The chamber's center held the speaker's podium, surrounded by holographic displays and translation systems. Above it all, a transparent dome revealed the star-filled void beyond. Emperor Zax stood at the center podium, his gold-scaled body draped in ceremonial robes that shimmered in the chamber's light. The 9-foot-tall reptilian being commanded the room with his presence alone, 6 amber eyes scanning the gathered representatives. Those eyes locked onto Liam as the human delegation entered. Ah, the humans have arrived, the Emperor announced, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. We may now begin. Liam and his team were directed to Earth's designated section, a modest area compared to the elaborate enclosures of older conclave members. The humans were newcomers, after all. First contact had occurred just 7 years ago. Representatives of the Galactic Conclave, Emperor Zax began. I have called this emergency session to address growing concerns about expansion in the Orion arm of our galaxy. Holographic star maps materialized above the chamber floor, highlighting Earth's solar system and nearby colonial worlds. After thorough analysis and consideration of historical precedent, the Imperial Council has made a decision regarding human expansion. The Emperor's eyes narrowed slightly. Effective immediately, human settlement will be restricted to your home system and the 3 colony worlds you currently occupy. No further expansion will be permitted for a period of 100 standard cycles. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Liam felt his pulse quicken. Earth had nearly a dozen colony ships already en route to new systems, carrying thousands of settlers. The Alliance had plans for at least 15 more worlds within the next 2 decades. Liam stood. Emperor Zax, with all due respect, Earth was not consulted about this decision. Our expansion plans are well documented and have been approved by previous conclave measures. We have colony ships already in transit. The Emperor's scales darkened slightly, a sign of irritation. Liam had learned. The decision is final, Captain Vega. The conclave has existed for 12,000 years by maintaining order and balance. Your species has been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. This restriction is for your own protection and the stability of the region. Protection from what? Liam pressed. From yourselves, primarily. The Emperor replied coldly. The session is adjourned. Detailed regulations will be transmitted to your government within the day. Back in their diplomatic quarters, Liam paced while Nathan worked frantically at his terminal. They can't just box us in like this, Liam said, anger evident in his voice. The Alliance won't accept it. We have rights under the Conclave Charter. Liam, look at this, Nathan said quietly, his face pale in the glow of the screen. I found something in the restricted archives. I've been working on cracking their security protocols for months. Liam moved to look over Nathan's shoulder. The screen displayed historical records, restriction orders identical to the one just issued to Earth, but for different species. The Nahari, the Proxians, the Vex Collective, Nathan pointed to the list. All received similar expansion restrictions within the last 500 years. What happened to them? Liam asked, though he already suspected the answer. They disappeared, Nathan whispered. Within 50 years of these restrictions, they either became fully subjugated by the Conclave or, he paused, swallowing hard, or they were completely eradicated. Liam stared at the screen, at the list of extinct civilizations. This isn't an alliance, it's systematic conquest. There's more, Nathan continued, his fingers flying across the keyboard. After the restrictions, there's always a similar pattern. Accusations of violations, followed by peacekeeping forces being deployed to their worlds. Within a decade, their militaries are dismantled, their governments replaced by conclave overseers. We need to warn Earth, Liam said, his mind racing through options. Can we get a secure transmission out? Nathan shook his head. I've tried. All our communications are being monitored. Anything suspicious is blocked before it leaves the station. Outside their window, the endless expanse of stars glittered against the void. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its expansion, unaware of the fate being crafted for humanity. Then we need evidence, Liam decided, his jaw set with determination. Undeniable proof of what the Conclave is doing. Something we can present to all the representatives, not just the Emperor's inner circle. How? We're being watched constantly. A soft chime from the door interrupted them. Nathan quickly closed the files as Liam moved to answer. Outside stood a slender, humanoid figure with pale, luminescent skin and large, silver eyes. Clearly not human, but not a species Liam recognized. Captain Vega, the being said in a melodic voice, I am Celara of the Lyrisian Collective. May I enter? What I have to say cannot be overheard. Liam hesitated, then stepped aside. Once the door closed, Celara activated a small device that emitted a soft hum. Privacy field, she explained. It will scramble any listening devices. I don't have much time, so I'll be direct. I know what the Emperor has done to your people. The same was done to mine 300 cycles ago. You were restricted too? Nathan asked. Yes, Celara's silver eyes dimmed with something like grief. Now my homeworld exists only as a tourist destination and mining outpost. Our government, our military, our autonomy, all gone. We are servants, not partners in the Conclave. Why are you telling us this? Liam asked, though he already suspected the answer. Because humans are different, Celera replied. You fight, you question authority, and you might succeed where others failed. She removed a small crystal from her robes and handed it to Liam. This contains evidence of what the Conclave has done to 23 species who showed too much potential or independence. Study it, but be careful. The Emperor has spies everywhere. How did you get this information? Nathan asked. Was the lead archivist for the Conclave Historical Council before being reassigned. Her expression hardened. They believe my people too docile now to pose any threat. A miscalculation on their part. What can we do with this? Liam asked, holding the crystal carefully. The yearly Assembly of Worlds begins tomorrow. All representatives will be present, along with the ceremonial guards instead of the military forces that usually protect the Emperor. Celera moved toward the door. This might be your only chance to reveal the truth to everyone at once. After that, she shrugged elegantly. It will be up to the Conclave to decide whether to continue following a leader who has betrayed their founding principles. After Celera left, Liam and Nathan spent hours analyzing the data crystal. It contained damning evidence, internal communications, military orders, and historical records showing how the Conclave's leadership had systematically identified, restricted, and eventually conquered or eliminated dozens of emerging species over thousands of years. This is their pattern, Nathan said, pointing to a timeline. First, restriction of expansion. Then, fabricated evidence of treaty violations. Next, military intervention under the guise of peacekeeping. Finally, complete subjugation or eradication. And we're already at stage 1, Liam muttered. Their research was interrupted by an urgent notification on Liam's official communicator. It was a message from Admiral Helena Rice, Earth's Defense Force Commander. Captain Vega, her holographic image appeared, expression grave. We've detected unusual movement from Conclave vessels near our outer colonies. Multiple warships have taken position just beyond our sensor range. They're not responding to hails or identifying themselves according to protocol. I'm placing all forces on high alert, but I need to know, is there something happening at the Conclave we should be aware of? The transmission ended abruptly, the signal cutting out mid-sentence. When Liam tried to respond, he found all communications to Earth blocked. It's happening already, he said, his voice tight with anger. They're positioning for stage 2. We're out of time. Nathan looked up from the crystal's data, his face pale. According to these records, the next step would be manufactured evidence of human aggression or treaty violations, followed immediately by a preventative strike against our military capabilities. Liam's eyes hardened as he made his decision. Then we need to act now. Tomorrow, at the Assembly of Worlds, we expose everything. How? They'll never let you speak freely. Liam stared out at the stars, where Earth lay millions of miles away, potentially facing imminent attack. His hands clenched into fists. Then I won't ask for permission. Truth and consequences. The Assembly of Worlds began with typical conclave grandeur. The Grand Chamber glowed with ceremonial light as representatives from 1,000 worlds took their places in the tiered seating. Holographic displays shimmered above the central floor, showing peaceful scenes from worlds across the galaxy, a calculated display of harmony that Liam now recognized as propaganda. He sat alone at Earth's station, dressed in his full diplomatic uniform. Nathan and the rest of the human delegation had been politely detained for a routine security interview just before the session. Another warning sign that their suspicions were correct. Emperor Zax entered with his ceremonial guard, 12 tall, reptilian warriors bearing ceremonial weapons that were as deadly as they were ornate. The chamber fell silent as he took his position on the central platform, his golden scales gleaming under the lights. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Conclave, the Emperor began, his resonant voice filling the chamber. We gather today to celebrate 12 millennia of peace and prosperity under our united governance. Before we begin the ceremonial proceedings, there is a matter of galactic security to address. Large holographic displays appeared, showing what appeared to be human military vessels in formation. It is with grave concern that I must inform you of troubling developments in the Orion Arm, Zax continued. Despite yesterday's ruling restricting human expansion, our monitoring stations have detected unauthorized human military movements near the protected Centauri sector. Liam's jaw tightened. The ships in the hologram were indeed Alliance vessels, but the positioning and timestamps have been altered. He recognized the fleet formations from a training exercise conducted months ago. These provocative actions, the Emperor continued, combined with intercepted communications indicating potential hostile intent, have forced the Imperial Council to take preventative measures. A peacekeeping force has been dispatched to secure the region and ensure compliance with conclave directives. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most representatives appeared concerned but unsurprised. They had seen this pattern before with other species, but had never questioned it. The Emperor's 6 amber eyes swept the chamber. The Security Council will vote tomorrow on the appropriate response to this human aggression. Until then, the evidence is fabricated. Liam's voice cut through the chamber as he stood. All eyes turned toward the human representative. Emperor Zax's scales darkened. Captain Vega, you are out of order. This is a formal announcement, not a debate. Liam stepped out from the Earth delegation box, moving deliberately toward the central floor. 2 security guards moved to intercept him, but he continued walking. The shifts shown in that hologram were part of a routine training exercise conducted 3 months ago in our home system. Liam projected his voice to reach the entire chamber. The timestamps and coordinates have been altered. This is outrageous, the Emperor hissed. Security, remove the human representative. More guards moved toward Liam, but he reached into his pocket and activated the small device Solara had given him. Suddenly, all the holographic displays in the chamber flickered and changed, now showing the contents of the data crystal, evidence of the conclave's systematic subjugation of species after species. Representatives of the conclave, Liam called out as he continued walking toward the central platform. For thousands of years, you have been deceived. The restrictions placed on emerging species aren't for galactic stability. They're the first step in a methodical process of conquest. The guards reached for him, but several representatives called out for them to stop. The evidence playing across the displays was too compelling to dismiss. The Nihari, the Proxians, the Vex Collective, Liam continued, naming extinct or subjugated civilizations as their histories appeared on the screens. All followed the same pattern we're seeing now with humanity. First, restrictions on expansion. Then, falsified evidence of violations. Finally, military intervention that ends with complete control or extinction. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Many representatives stood, pointing at the displays that showed internal communications between Emperor Zax and his military commanders. Communications explicitly discussing the containment and eventual assimilation of humanity. The Emperor's composure cracked. "This is treasonous," he roared. "These are fabricated documents. Security, arrest him immediately." The ceremonial guards moved forward, weapons drawn. Liam stood his ground at the base of the central platform, just meters from the Emperor. "And right now," Liam said, his voice cutting through the chaos, "a conclave peacekeeping fleet is preparing to attack human colonies without the knowledge or approval of this assembly." As if on cue, Liam's secure communicator lit up with an emergency transmission. He held it up, and a holographic projection appeared. Admiral Helena Reyes, her image occasionally distorted by static. "Under attack," her voice rang out. "Conclave warships have opened fire on Proxima Colony and the Epsilon Defense Station. We've lost contact with New Terra. This is an unprovoked act of war. The transmission cut off abruptly. The chamber fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in pandemonium. Many representatives rose to their feet, shouting questions and demands. Emperor Zax's scales had darkened to deep crimson, a sign of rage in his species. This human lies. The peacekeeping mission was authorized by the Security Council. No, it wasn't, came a new voice. An elderly Juxarian counselor had risen from the Security Council section. No such authorization was given. I would know. I chair the council. More voices joined in support. The evidence was too clear, the pattern too consistent to deny. The Emperor had acted unilaterally, bypassing the very governance structure the conclave was built upon. Enough. Zax roared. He gestured to his guards. Remove this human and any who support these falsehoods. This session is adjourned until order can be restored. The guards moved toward Liam, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he climbed the steps to the central platform, facing the Emperor directly. You've betrayed the principles of the conclave, Liam said, his voice carrying across the now silent chamber. You've led these representatives into becoming accomplices in the subjugation or destruction of countless species, and now you're trying to do the same to humanity. The Emperor towered over Liam, his clawed hand moving to the ceremonial weapon at his belt. You are nothing, he hissed, voice low enough that only Liam could hear. Your species is barely evolved beyond throwing rocks. You will be contained, controlled, and eventually forgotten, just like all the others. What happened next would be recorded in conclave history and retold across 1,000 worlds. Captain Liam Vega, Earth's diplomatic representative, stepped forward and grabbed Emperor Zax, the most powerful being in the known galaxy, by his ceremonial collar. The chamber gasped collectively as Liam physically dragged the struggling Emperor down from the platform, across the central floor, toward the main evidence display. The ceremonial guard stood frozen in shock. No one had ever dared to lay hands on an emperor in the 12,000-year history of the conclave. Look, Liam commanded, forcing the Emperor to face the evidence. Look at what you've done. The Nahari, a peaceful species who simply wanted to explore beyond their assigned boundaries, eliminated over a 50-year campaign of pacification. The Proxians, reduced to servants on their own worlds. The Vex Collective, their entire civilization erased because they developed faster-than-light technology that rivaled the conclaves. The Emperor struggled, but Liam held firm, his military training evident in his stance and grip. The guards finally moved forward, but representatives from dozens of worlds stood up, blocking their path. Let him speak, called out a Traterian ambassador. We've followed these policies for centuries without questioning. If these accusations are true. They are true, came another voice. Silara had entered the chamber, accompanied by representatives from other subjugated species. We have lived under conclave protection for generations. We know the truth of these patterns. On the main display, a new transmission appeared. Live footage from the human colony showing conclave warships firing on civilian settlements. The attack had begun. With a roar of rage, Emperor Zax broke free from Liam's grip, drawing his ceremonial weapon, which proved to be anything but ceremonial as it hummed to life with energy. You've doomed your species, human, he snarled, lunging forward. Liam dodged the attack, his combat training taking over. He countered with a precise strike that sent the Emperor staggering backward. The ceremonial guards finally broke through the crowd, rushing toward the confrontation. But they never reached it. Representatives from dozens of worlds moved to block them. Centuries of suspicion and resentment finally finding expression. This assembly is still in session, called out the elder Juxarian counselor. By conclave law, no force may be used against any representative while the assembly continues. The chamber had become divided. Those loyal to the Emperor or benefiting from the subjugation of other species versus those who had been deceived or oppressed under the system. As the Emperor regained his footing, he found himself surrounded not by allies, but by representatives demanding answers. Halt the attack on human worlds immediately, demanded the Juxarian counselor. By authority of the Security Council, I order all conclave forces to stand down. The Emperor's scales pulsed with rage. You have no authority over my personal fleet, he hissed. Those words, confirming he commanded forces outside conclave oversight, sealed his fate. Then you have violated the founding charter, the counselor replied. No member, not even an emperor, may maintain military forces outside conclave control. A vote was called. Rapid, unprecedented, but legal under the charter. Within minutes, Emperor Zax found himself stripped of authority pending investigation. The conclave's central AI sent override commands to all vessels attacking human colonies, though for some outposts, the orders came too late. Liam stood at the center of the chamber, watching as the Emperor, the being who had orchestrated the subjugation or destruction of countless civilizations, was led away by his own guards, now answering to the assembly rather than their former master. This isn't over, human, Zax growled as he passed. The conclave has operated this way for millennia. You've changed nothing. You're wrong, Liam replied. We've changed everything. Humanity doesn't stand alone anymore. He looked around the chamber, where representatives from hundreds of worlds were already forming new alliances, sharing experiences of manipulation and control, questioning policies that had gone unchallenged for generations. 3 days later, Liam stood on the observation deck of the Horizon, watching as the ship prepared to depart from the conclave station. The emergency session had become an extended Reformation Council. The attack on human colonies had been halted, though not before causing significant damage and casualties. Emperor Zax and his inner circle were being held for trial, the first such proceeding in conclave history. Dr. Nathan Elias joined him at the viewport, still appearing exhausted from days of presenting evidence to the newly formed Truth and Reconciliation Committee. The Provisional Council wants Earth to have a permanent seat, Nathan said. They're rewriting the charter to prevent any future consolidation of power. Liam nodded, his eyes on the stars beyond the station. And the fleet. Most ships have stood down. There are a few commanders loyal to Zax who've gone rogue, but the majority of conclave forces are returning to standard positions. It won't be easy, Liam said quietly, changing a system that's operated one way for thousands of years. There will be resistance, attempts to return to the old patterns. But now everyone is watching, Nathan replied. That's the difference. The secrecy is gone. A soft chime announced another visitor. Silara entered the observation deck, now wearing the formal robes of the Lyrisian representative, a position restored after generations of puppet governance. The council session is resuming soon, she said. They're discussing reparations for affected worlds and the restoration of expansion rights. She paused, her silver eyes meeting Liam's. Your actions have given hope to species who had forgotten what hope feels like. Liam turned from the viewport. The Horizon would remain docked a while longer. There was still work to be done. Alliances to forge. A new order to help shape. Humanity came to the stars looking for neighbors, he said, not subjects or masters. If the conclave truly wants peace, they'll find we make better allies than enemies. As they walked back toward the council chambers, Liam thought about the moment he had dragged the Emperor across the chamber floor. It hadn't been planned. Just a human reaction to injustice, a refusal to bow before tyranny regardless of its age or power. Perhaps that was what the galaxy needed most, the human capacity to question, to challenge, to demand better even from the stars themselves. The new era wouldn't be built on subjugation and fear, but on the simple, profound truth that had propelled humanity to the stars in the first place. We are stronger together than apart, but only when we stand as equals.